I still see him walk through the door, and all the warriors walked in.
Mongolia against Greece!
Stefanos, or Stefanos.
He has a very unique look, a very Greek warrior-esque type look, high cheekbones, deep-set and blue eyes, and a very intimidating guy, very big and a very strong-looking guy, and of course the voice, the deep voice of Stefanos.
He was a little bit scary, intimidating, until you got to know him, and he was a gentle, giving, generous guy.
Stefanos was probably the nicest guy I ever met and the meanest guy I ever met in the same person. It was one of the most incredible people I've ever met.
If there was a word I could use to describe Stefanos, it would have to be badass.
A warrior. Complicated.
Human. A human being.
This whole process here is about my philosophy.
My name is Stefanos Miltsakakis. I'm from Greece.
Λένε Ανούλα Μιλτσακάκη και είμαι η μάνα του Στέφανου Μιλτσακάκη. Όπως πάτησε στα πόδια του ήταν πολύ ανήσυχο παιδί, δεν το χωρούσε. Στο σχολείο ήταν καλός μαθητής ήταν, αλλά ήταν ζωηρός λίγο. Πάντα ήταν ζωηρό παιδί.
I grew up in a place that it was just a common thing that children, we would just fight with each other and wrestle all day long. It was a different times, it was a different era, it was a different place.
Μόλις άρχισε με κουσουλάει με τα γόνατα, έβγαινε όξο, χτυπούσε τα γόνατα, σημασία δεν έδωσε. Άφοβο παιδί.
I remember fighting as soon as I started to walk. I mean, it was just the circumstances I was put.
Είμαι στη Νέα Υόρκη γιατί εγώ πήγα με τον Στέφανο, ο άντρας μου πήγε πιο μπροστά και εγώ πήγα με τον Στέφανο και ήθελε πολύ με την Αμερική και όταν είπαμε θα πάμε χάρηκε. Μόλις κατέφυγαμε στην Αμερική, στη Νέα Υόρκη, μου λέει «Μαμά, μη φοβάσαι τώρα, ήρθαμε στο πιο δυνατό κράτος».
Ήταν κάτι που τότε δεν το σκεφτήκαμε εμείς καθόλου, αλλά ο Στέφανος έφυγε 12,5 χρονών εδώ παιδί. Οπότε πήγε σε ένα σχολείο που δεν ήξερε κανέναν, δεν ήξερε τη γλώσσα, δεν ήξερε την κουλτούρα, την νοοτροπία των ανθρώπων, τίποτα. Εγκληματίστηκε όμως πάρα πολύ γρήγορα, πάρα πολύ γρήγορα. Του άρεσε η Αμερική.
Fear. It's probably one of the most satisfying feelings you can achieve when you overcome a fear. I mean, that's a character building. You're afraid, but you deal with it. You don't back off.
Δεν μετέφερε στο σπίτι ποτέ τι δυσκολίες είχε, αν μπορούσε να επικοινωνήσει. Ξέρετε, οι γονείς μου φεύγαν το πρωί για τη δουλειά, γυρίζαν το βράδυ. Τους πρώτους 7 μήνες ήταν μόνος του. Δεν ξέραμε τι έκανε, πώς περνούσε, δεν παραπονέθηκε ποτέ.
The first really fight I remember, really fight, I was, what was I, 13 years old. I just came to the United States. I couldn't speak a whole lot of English. And I got in a fight with about, I don't know, a dozen kids. And I remember grabbing them and wrestling them to the ground, but I wasn't hurting them, and they would hit me with metal paws, they would beat me there. And I learned how to fight. That's when I really learned how to fight. That was the last time I lost a fight. It was the only time I lost a fight.
Stefanos was picked on because of his lack of English. He had to quickly learn how to fight in school.
He just got more and more adamant about working out and becoming bigger and trying to overcome anybody being able to mess with him.
And I learned how to fight it. It was really doing whatever you can to survive. It was like, I mean, I was beaten up so bad. I was dripping blood. I remember going to the principal's office, and the other kids would see me walking on the hall and they would start screaming, and little girls crying and, running to their classrooms. I mean, it was a fight. That was probably my most memorable fight. But, it was a great lesson.
And after he started having problems and started really fighting on the streets, it was more for protection at first, but he was very good at it.
Στο ράλι και στο γυμνάσιο, στο Λύκειο που πήγαινε, όλο γίνονταν παλέστρα εκεί, ρωμαρική πάλι. Γιατί μας φαίνονταν πολύ χτυπήματα τέτοια. Αλλά εκείνος εκεί ήταν το νεράκι. Μια βραδιά λέει δεν θα έρθει τη μαμά, όλος ο κόσμος έρχεται, δεν θα έρθει της. Θα έρθουμε λέω κι εμείς, πήγαμε εκεί που θα πάλι. Τι να σε πω παιδί μου, όταν σηκώθηκε και βγήκε Στέφανος εκεί, όλοι σηκώθηκαν όρθιοι. Greek, 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 Greek τον έλεγαν εκεί. Greek the Steve, Greek the Steve. Αχ, Παναγιά μου.
First met Steve in high school, about the time he was sort of finding himself and feeling his oats. And he was, of course, an interesting accent, and the way he talked was different than most. Not just his accent, but his delivery and content of his thoughts about the world were different than an average high school age kid, and that was intriguing.
Alexander the Great constantly tried to find opportunities to deal with his fears. You learn how to control them, you use them to your advantage. I started wrestling when I was in high school, and after the 84 Olympics, I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Rickson Gracie, and after that, spent about 4 years training with Rickson. I went into Muay Thai training with Rob Taylor, and right now I'm training with Jerry through boxing in regular boxing. So basically, I've been fighting all my life. I never looked at myself, you know what, I'm going to be a professional fighter. I'm going to fight for money. I've always wanted to do other things, but fighting just kept coming along. It's just, the opportunity kept arising beyond my control.
When I was fighting in Rio de Janeiro for the Vale Tudo Championships, I had a huge match coming up. It was the first time as an American had ever gone into Rio to fight in a Vale Tudo match, and I was the main event. It was a Rickson Gracie tournament, and I brought Stefanos to work my corner. And when I was there, we were invited to a lot of the traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools in the area. I was the main kind of guide there but when the people started seeing Stefanos and Stefanos started rolling with some of the black belts, really want to have the interlink with me as they did with Stefanos, because everybody knew how bad he was. He had tapped out some of the top black belts in Brazil at the time, and so the word got out on the streets that he was annihilating some of these upper level black belts. And so every day we'd wake up and there'd be a few guys knocking on my door trying to get Stefanos and me to come to some of these unique schools around the Rio area to basically challenged all of their black belts. And this guy, I was there for 2 weeks, and he cleaned. I mean, he rolled with everybody that was major in the Rio scene back then, and pretty much held his own, if not beat all of them.
Με τις πάλεις που έκανα, δεν ξέραμε ότι ήταν. Εγώ το έμαθα τώρα τελευταία από το ίντερνετ ότι ήταν 2 φορές παγκόσμιος πρωταθλητής στο MMA, Βαλεντούντο. Τα ξέραμε, δεν μας έλεγε.
I'm not fighting because I just love to fight. I don't really love to fight. I don't like to fight. I don't like to hurt people. And if you watch my fights, you'll see that I've never fight with the intention of hurting people. I fight with the intention of winning. I want to do it noble. I want to show courage, and I want to give people a good show.
My favorite author is Homer. The Iliad. Wow. When Zeus, God Zeus, is on Mount Olympus with the rest of the gods, and they're looking below through the clouds, and the Greeks and the Trojans are slaughtering, killing each other. And I don't know who it was, one of the warriors, I think it was maybe Achilles, and it's like, Father Zeus, why? Why all this destruction? Why all this killing? Why all this suffering? And Zeus looked below. He's like, son, I do this because I love you. I do this because I want to make a stronger man.
Αυτό ήταν η προτεραιότητά του, χωρίς να το λέει, χωρίς να καταλαβαίνει ότι κάνει καλό.
The first time I met Stefanos was probably about the 100th time that I saw him, because I was so afraid to talk to him, because he was this just chiseled, godlike man walking around with such serenity and such gravitas and balance and calm.
Ήθελε πάντα να βοηθήσει τους αδύνατους μαθητές. Μια φορά θα ήταν 8 χρονών, ήταν το σχολείο μας εκεί κάτω που πέρασαμε. Αλλά αυτά τα μικρά έκαναν μάθημα πιο κατά εδώ, έτσι. Έπρεπε να περάσουν και τη γεφυρίτσα εκεί. Αλλά είχαν και ένα μαθητή, συμμαθητή τους, που ήταν ανάπηρο. Και δεν μπορούσε να περάσει εκείνο το καημένο. Όταν ήρθαμε μια φορά από την Αμερική, όταν πήγαμε και γύρισαμε, το παιδάκι μου μεγάλωσε ύστερα όταν άπειρο, ήταν 16-17 χρονών. Ήρθε, με καλωσόρισε, με αγκάλισε και με λέει, θεία, δεν θα ξεχάσω το Στέφανο. Κανένας δεν με περνούσε από το ρηματάκι, αλλά εκείνος με έβαζε γκαλτζός εδώ και με περνούσε. Και ξέρεις τι έκανε? Όταν πήγαμε στην Αμερική, ήταν 12 χρονών. Δούλευαμε σε ένα μαγαζί μέσα και ήρθε και αυτό εκεί και το έβαλε η διευθύντρια εκείνη. Η φασματοπολείο ήταν να σκουπίζει κάθε Σάββατο με την σκούπα το χαλί. $5 το έδωνε. Αυτό έκατσε και έγραψε γράμμα στο συμμαθητή του των ανάπηρων και το στέλνει τα $5. Και όταν ήρθαμε, εκείνο το είχε στην τσέπη του. Και τα θεία το έχω για ενθύμιο, λέει το Στέφανο, με έστειλε $5. Τίποτα δεν μας είπε εμάς. Ήθελε να κάνει καλά και δεν τα έλεγε, έτσι τα άφηνε να περάσει. Ήταν καλό ψυχοπαιδί, πολύ καλό.
My first impression of Steph when I first met him was like, wow, he looks like some Greek god. But he was very nonchalant about it and very charismatic and receptive to everyone around him, as if he didn't even notice who or what he was. An amazing and very genteel man.
Πιο μπροστά εκεί, είχε ζήσει τα παιδιά μου, γιατί τα γέννησα τα παιδιά μου. Επέστρεψε εντωμεταξύ, ήρθα στην Ελλάδα και ξαναεπέστρεψα να παντρεύτηκα και γυρίσαμε. Γέννησα τα παιδιά μου εκεί. Τα έπαιζε ο Στέφανος, έπαιζε πάρα πολύ με τα παιδιά, του άρεσαν.
He'd owned a bar together with his friend Steve Townhauser called the Bear's Den. Steve would sit on the stool at the front, usually collect the money and sort of act as owner/bouncer. And I'd seen him bounce a lot of people with ease. And I remember one night, Steve, this big guy, he's He won't leave. He's talking junk to everybody. He's hit somebody. He was a football player for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a big, big guy. Steve walks up to him very calmly. Again, he holds his finger out. He says, "I'm going to give you one chance to live." And the guy grabs his hand, he makes a big goofy face and just grabs his hand. And I don't remember what happened next because it was a split second. And the guy was on the ground with Steve just pummeling him. Within the next 10 seconds, the guy's out the door, bloody, yelling and screaming, and Steve goes back and sits on his stool and he's not even out of breath.
We would literally go out, and every single time we would go out, somebody would take a swing at this guy. I have never seen anything like it in my life. You're obviously going to get killed, and I never saw anything more than 2 punches. He hit them and they hit the ground.
I don't know why people would seek him out, because if you've ever looked at him, you would think that no person in their right mind would ever decide to mess with him for any reason whatsoever.
He was real quick to put a lock or a hold on somebody who was getting out of line in a blink of an eye. If anything went down, he was there. If I had to pick somebody to be in an alley with me, and I don't say this lightly, he'd be top 2 or 3 in my life, and he's proven it in actual street situations.
He was a gentle giant, an unconditional, honorable, gentle giant.
That he looked like Hercules. Unbelievable. I had never seen anyone look like him or carry themselves like him. He was regal, a real warrior. And you could see it in his presence. Just had this calm nature about him, and he was always such a gentleman.
This guy's no big deal.
Stefanos was living in North Carolina. He had opened up a bar, and when he was 20, 21 years old, right out of college, and so he's there. So Jean-Claude Van Damme shows up, and they're going to shoot Cyborg in North Carolina. So Stefanos goes out. They make him an extra right away. And as an extra working, didn't know Jean-Claude, didn't know any of these people. Stefanos, in one scene with him running through the water. Now, Steph weighs about 265 at a time. He's just a massive brute of a man. And he's running through the water with Jean-Claude and the other guys, and they're coming to do something. And when they say pretend something, well, Stefanos pretends with all his force and his fury, and he's running. So even though he had a small part, he ends up the poster of the movie, with him and Jean-Claude and a few people behind him running, and that's the poster. So now he's got the poster billing for the movie Cyborg. And now this movie, they're looking for extras. Weekend at Bernie's. So they hire him for a day rate for 1 day. And Stefanos shows up at Weekend at Bernie's, and they like him so much. And he never had a line, but they put him in a bunch of different shots. He worked there for 6 months on that movie. They had him every day. They did not want to be there without Stefanos being there every day.
Και κάποιος του είπε, γιατί δεν έρχεσαι στο Λος Άντζελες, τι κάθεσαι εδώ δεν έχεις προοπτικές πολλές. Και έτσι έφυγε.
Όταν έφυγε από εκεί ήταν 23 χρονό παλικάρι, ωραίος λεβέντης.
Θαυμάσιο, έχει ωραία θέα, βλέπει τον Ειρηνικό. Ωραίο, πολύ ωραίο. Εδώ είναι ο στεγαστικός αριθμός του Στέφανο. Διαμένει εδώ μέσα, το δωμάτιο είναι σε αυτό το παράθυρο.
Η γη της επαγγελίας για τον Στέφανο. Ήταν Ο χώρος που ήθελε, του άρεσε το κλίμα, πάρα πολύ του άρεσε το κλίμα του Λος Άντζελες. Του άρεσε η θάλασσα, ήταν πάντα, ζούσε πάντα δίπλα στη θάλασσα, πάντα είχε σπίτι δίπλα στη θάλασσα. Του άρεσε ο κόσμος, του άρεσε η δράση που μπορούσε να έχει εκεί, οι ευκαιρίες που μπορούσε να έχει, όλα του άρεσαν.
And now has become somewhat friends with Jean-Claude and ended up doing 5 or 6 or 7 other films with Jean-Claude. Some of those other films, the fight scenes in them probably are some of the best fight scenes that's ever been recorded in Hollywood. And they were as close to being real as almost any other fight in Hollywood could be.
And he told me about his dreams of moving to LA. That was his goal. He wanted to be an actor. And I 100% supported that. I didn't see any way that it wouldn't work. I don't know that he had a lot of people that were supporting him in that dream at that time.
Ό,τι έκανε ο Στέφανος το έκανε μόνος του, χωρίς καμιά βοήθεια από κανέναν. Και όταν πήγε και ξεκίνησε με τον κινηματογράφο, κοίταξε, χαρήκαμε πάρα πολύ όταν παίχτηκε το Cyborg στο ραλί και πήγαμε όλοι να το δούμε οικογενειακά. Ξέρεις τώρα να βλέπεις ξαφνικά τον άνθρωπό σου στο... Δεν μπορούσαμε όμως να καταλάβουμε ότι, να σκεφτούμε ότι αυτό το παιδάκι έφυγε 12 χρονών από ένα χωριό της Ελλάδος 300 κατοίκων και πήγε στο Λος Άντζελες και κατάφερε να βγει στο πανί, να βγει πρώτος, ξέρω εγώ, έκανε και... Δεν μας έλεγε όμως τι έκανε.
A seeker of dreams. He sought out his dream. He made it possible.
Hey dude, you need to pump some iron.
And he moved in life very knowing of what he wanted to do, I think, and going for it.
And I'm so fortunate to be in a place that, I mean, my God, the talent that exists in this town, the freedom that exists in this town, that I can just totally do what I want to do. I mean, it's just amazing that there is a country like the United States of America, that there is a Los Angeles, California, that there is a Hickson Gracie right here around the corner and Rob Kamen down there. That there is a Joanne Barron, my acting coach. That there is Hollywood and there is you sitting over there filming all these things. And I can be here and I can be here.
We met on a movie set, and he was playing one of the villains in the movie. The best thing about the whole movie was actually meeting Stefanos. It was a Jean-Claude Van Damme film, and we got on famously and started really teaching me how to move and how to fight and how to look on the camera, which was extremely useful for me because I didn't really have much experience in that field, especially in movies. So, in the first meeting, of course, is him without a shirt on and trying to teach us how to fight for this movie. So that was my first big impression, that he was quite intimidating. And as our friendship blossomed throughout the movie, he was a big cuddly teddy bear.
Stefano was like a mentor for me because little by little I tried to get involved in the film business. He always guided me like the way to deal with this company, this business. Because a lot of ego in the business, a lot of people who talk too much, but it's kind of interesting to have a person like Stefano to guide you.
He talked a lot about Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. He was like, I want to do action movies like that. He did talk about Costas Mandylor. He felt like he was a fellow Greek and that he had made it in Hollywood. And Steve wanted to do that as well. And so he was very inspired.
I met Stefanos somewhere in the early 90s. We did a film together called Sheltered. We played a Greek family of mobsters, and he was the quiet one, perfectly cast. Didn't say much, but as the messy part of the story came together, he pulled it all together in the end, which was part of his character. We had to do a scene where I'm the crazy brother, and I always waved the gun around like a banshee, and he was the quiet, calm one, like in life. And I remember I pulled out the gun and I was going, crazy, like the irresponsible one. And in the scene, he has to grab me, take me into a beautiful lock, take the gun out of my hand, and then point it back at me and say, stop. And it's funny because he was so gentle, yet I felt the power, and he took it out of my hand. I didn't give it to him, because in movies you give yourself, you give your body, which is part of the camaraderie. But he took it out of my hand like when I was resisting, and I went, wow, he's good at this movie stuff. But lo and behold, somebody pulled out a gun in a nightclub that we all had shares in called Sanctuary back in the day. And Stefanos happened to be there, and he just didn't like the fact that this guy was screaming at everybody and then pulled out the gun. He had the audacity to pull out his gun in his friend's nightclub, and he went up close and he took out the gun the same way in real life. So the man was no joke. And the guy that he pulled the gun away from kind of froze and went, what just happened to me? He embarrassed him, but he didn't mean to embarrass him. And the guy said a few words, and Stefanos said, okay. Killed the situation, and that was who he was. He was calm in the storm.
I said, put your guns down! Put your guns down!
That's enough, Dimitri. This is going too far, man.
I remember when I watched the movie Shelter and I told him about it, he told me that was the favorite scene he ever did as an actor was from that movie. I think it was the final scene, if I'm not mistaken, and it was his favorite scene because he was playing the good guy. He was the one who prevented violence, and he stopped the men from doing something worse.
What I found most interesting about him at the beginning was that he was interested in other people. He paid attention. He absorbed information, which was one of his greatest qualities, I think.
We talked about everything. We talked about love. We talked about politics. We talked about life, philosophy. He told me everything about the Greek gods and democracy and Aristotle, and sometimes he lost me because he talked so much and he was very soft-spoken.
Good choice.
When I say this, I don't say it lightly. I definitely mean this, and I know that he knows this. The impact that he had in my life was so big that the person that I am now and the values that I have now began with him, began with the conversations that he had with me about politics, about what it meant to him to be an American.
He was very proud about becoming part of the United States of America, but he was also proud of the fact that he came from Greece.
At this point in my life, I'm completely convinced that this is not Stefanos, that you're looking, that I'm seeing. Stefanos is connected. He's connected to all his forebears. From generation, I exist. Here I am. Their instincts are their voices and their guidance. is an incredible connection.
His father was a great man, solid, strong. He made custom clothing, whatever you wanted, done clothing-wise. Mr. Miltsakakis was excellent. And I had my first suit made by him, actually.
And one thing I noticed when I met his family is that they were all so motivated and they saw the opportunity here. And his father worked his butt off as a European custom tailor. That was the name of his business. And his mother was always there. And it was just a great family atmosphere there. I saw the ambition that I didn't see in a lot of Americans and the drive to be successful.
Start the navigation charts.
Captain, you're not thinking of turning the ship around.
Stefanos, he'll give us a good show, no doubt.
Παρακαλώ. You wait. Κώστα, πάνε πίσω και κοίταξε να βρεις τον Φις. Άντε, γρήγορα.
Stefanos was an intellectually very curious man who possessed enormous physical strength.
Stefanos had an energy and a drive and an intellect that you could not avoid. I have never, ever met anybody, because there was nobody like him. He read 7, 8, 9 hours every day, at least every day. There was a great intellect in his family, the talents, and Stefanos was great at drawing. He could draw just in paint and do things that he was just born with that gift. He was gifted in so many other areas. Just a very special person.
You never felt more safe than when you were with Stefanos. Every time I was out with him, there was always a story attached to it. It was never boring.
We went to get to the local diner, a bite to eat. We had a great dinner, we were in a good mood, we walk out, and I noticed my tire was flat. So, I had some fix-a-flat, so I went in the back, popped open the trunk, and started putting that in there, in the tire. And all of a sudden, kind of a gangster-looking guy comes out of an apartment building and says, "Yeah, that's what you guys get, parking in our driveway." I'm thinking, well, it's a dicey situation. It's a little rough neighborhood. So I'm like, all right, fine. As long as you don't put hands on me, I'll continue to get the tire and we'll go on about our business. But next thing I know, I hear this little scuffle going on, and Stefanos has this guy in a chokehold. And he's asking him, "Why did you do this? We're not in your way," because we really weren't. Maybe a little touch. People could go in and out of this driveway. But he had a sense of righteousness about him. He didn't care about, personal danger. He cared about personal integrity. While he had him in a full choke, I noticed I heard a door open, and first thing I saw coming out the door was a long barrel of a rifle. It was obviously somebody that was related to this guy. And immediately, I'm trying to calm Stefanos down because this is going to get out of hand here. But instead of panicking and pushing the guy away and fleeing, he just turned the guy toward the weapon and basically put his head down behind the other guy's head so that there was no place to shoot unless they wanted to kill his own family member or friend. So I tried to calm the situation, say, "Hey, put your rifle down, it's going to be fine, Stefanos, relax." And Stefanos just said, "Put the rifle down first, and then I will let him go." But the funny thing about it, instead of this guy getting mad, after a few minutes, he realized that we weren't there to do any harm. And he actually apologized to us and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry, but people are parking in that restaurant, they're kind of over here a lot. We didn't mean any harm by it."
He'd say to me, well, I feel like this is one of my purposes in life, that everywhere I go, it's like the Creator places me there so that I can help with these situations and dissolve them.
And it's nothing magical, everything simple, hard. And try to improve every day, try to become a little better, try to find some kind of motivation that will take me to a higher level.
He was never a person that would talk about his accolades and his fighting ability. I learned about Stefanos, but not through Stefanos himself. It was actually through other friends. One of my friends who was pretty big in the MMA community, he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Keegan Machado. We were talking about Stefanos. He told me, if you're ever in a street fight, that's the guy you want standing next to you.
I knew that Steph was in the industry, but I didn't know exactly what. I later found out all the movies that Steph was in and how big of an actor and star he truly was, because he was always so humble.
Thank you, my friend.
There wasn't a lot of talking about Stefanos and all of his accolades. He talked a lot about his family, about his mom and his sister all the time, about what great women they were and how they were so strong and how he feels like he got his strength from his mom. And so it was always a beautiful thing.
I fought because it was the only way I could distinguish myself. I could somehow bring myself above the normal. And I've always, it was a sense, it was an instinct that told me that I wanted to be different. I didn't want to be like everybody else. I wanted to be unique. I wanted people to see me and say, wow, that guy is somebody, something, he's something he can do.
He had this face of a gladiator. Like, I'd never seen a guy with that strong expressions, a warrior like Stefanos.
I think Stefanos put out a very slow front kick, feeling him out. Stefanos, it shouldn't have happened. Stefanos is definitely the superior wrestler here.
He always took fighting seriously. Even if it was a simple training, he used to enter the ring like with this warrior-esque mentality he always carried.
Fighting was the only thing that I really believed. I mean, I really believed I had a chance in succeeding at, in doing that, to say, you know, with a certain amount of work, with a certain amount of discipline, with a certain amount of focusedness, and I can achieve this. I can be as good as anybody else in this world. There was no doubt in my mind that I could. And still at 45 years old, I really believe that. I still think I can do it. That hope is still alive within me.
Stefanos Miltsakakis.
Weight.
I weigh 200 pounds.
All right. Light heavyweight. 205 or under. Get on the scale. All right, 202 on the dot.
He started training with Rob Kamen. He started training with Hickson. He started doing all these trainings. So whereas in the beginning, I'd play with him and we'd slap fight and we'd do things, and I didn't have much fear of him, and he seemed mortal to me. But after a while, I couldn't touch him. I could try all I wanted, and I could never get close to putting a hand on him, and he could kill me at any time. So he went from he became a greater fighter after 30 and 40 years old than he was then. He was the oldest licensed fighter in the United States at one time.
I hope you guys enjoy it. 45, I still believe I can be the best fighter in the world. And as long as I believe that, I have to make an attempt and find out, can I do it?
He is the main event. He's probably going to play with him. I think his strategy is to play with him up top for a little while and then take him down later on when he gets starts tiring him down a little bit. He'll give us a good show, no doubt.
Stefanos!
'Introducing to you first, fighting out of the blue corner. He is wearing black trunks. He is training out of True Boxing Gym in Hollywood, California, coming by way of Greece. He weighed in at 201 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Stefanos Miltsakakis.
15 minutes before I go into the ring. What am I thinking? I'm really meditating and relaxing. I'm speaking to God, I'm speaking to my Father. I'm saying, you know what, Holy Father, I'm going into the ring to face you. My opponent is God himself. I'm coming there to face you. Let's dance. Let it be. What's going to happen? I'm going to get a black eye, I'm going to get a broken arm. It happened before, it's nothing new. Just breathe. Breathing is also a very important thing. What separates the masters from everybody else is their breathing. Breathing relaxes you. When I walk into that ring, I want to be so tuned up with my opponent that I become one with him. I know what he's going to do before he's going to do it. And you have to do that only when you believe in the moment. And the only way you can believe in the moment is to have faith in the Holy Father, meaning that he put me on this earth and he's watching over me and he's put me in this situation. He knows better what the outcome is going to be better than I do. I have nothing to do with the outcome. My job is to be right there and react. What does my opponent do? How do I react? Relax.
Stefanos, in one sentence, one of the most powerful body-mind that I'd ever seen in combination in my entire life.
We have our winner by way of shoulder lock, Stefanos Miltsakakis.
Stay focused and disciplined, and after that, whatever the cards will reveal, they will reveal.
Our relationship was really good. It was really strong. There was one hardship that we had in the relationship, and that was that he could never tell his family about me because I wasn't Greek. I remember one time we ran into his parents somewhere and he didn't introduce me to them. And that caused a big fight.
You know, when you're afraid, all this energy, you know, you got all these instincts, you know, that are alive, they're driving you, and you learn how to control them, you use them to your advantage. When we don't know how to use all those instincts, we get intimidated by them, we overreact or underreact.
He just really felt badly about it, and it really hurt my feelings. But he just couldn't do it for whatever reason. He could not do it. And I feel like that made it a little hard for him to see a long-term vision for the two of us.
Everybody's afraid. There is nobody out there who's not afraid. People are afraid of a zillion things. We're afraid of women, we're afraid of heights, we're afraid of death. There's so many things that we're afraid of. Everybody has his own fears. Believe in the spirits, believe in God, believe in myself, and let it take its own course. Whatever happens, let it happen.
He was really wanting to make a move to Wilmington. Wilmington had a movie studio there, and he was learning that a lot of movies and TV shows were being filmed there, and so he thought that if we moved there, that might be his chance to break into the industry. So we gathered up the little things that we had in Myrtle Beach, started a life there, and it wasn't long after that that he got a part in Cyborg. That was his big break, and he was extremely excited. And then not long after that, he got a part as a personal trainer in Weekend at Bernie's. I believe that's when he got his SAG card. Once he got that SAG card, he was like, let's go to LA. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So we started making plans to do that. And I found out that my father had cancer and it was terminal. And I knew that I couldn't go. It was really tough. Really, really tough. I was very sad. I was heartbroken. He had a hard time witnessing me with those intense emotions. He was used to handling things in a very physical way. It was hard for him to see me suffering like that. And I can say that I don't even think he was really in touch with his own emotions very deeply at that time. So it was very hard for him to witness me like that.
Where do I see myself in 20 years? As a happy father, a family man, raising some good kids, setting up a great example for them. Maybe have a few grandchildren in 20 years. That's not going to happen.
In my life, I was always trying to fight and win the spot out in baseball. I always wanted to be the best on my team, and I always wanted to excel. You know, it's the goal, and it was always been a goal of mine to make it to the big leagues. What Stefanos would instill in me at a young age that I didn't realize would apply until I was a professional was grit. He understood that things were achieved over a long sense of hard work, and he didn't become this massive, yes, he had amazing genetics, but he didn't become this massive soul, this massive human, this physical physique monster off the easy road. And he pushed himself hard every day, and I saw him push himself all the time at a young age. And that representation and that work ethic that Stefanos showed just from a simple, philosophic, non-greedy, non-materialistic man showed me from zero on somewhat of who I wanted to be and who I looked up to. And he shaped my character completely because that's who I looked up to. I looked up to Stefanos. I was probably about 4 or 5 years old when I first started training with Stefanos. He started me with kickboxing, teaching me how to kick right, left, jabs, hooks. He taught me punching. It was intimidating at first because he's such a big guy. But once you realize that he's got your back and he's on your side and he's one of the most loyal people ever, that I knew he wasn't gonna hurt me, and I got warmed up.
One of his greatest challenges that he didn't have a child to carry on his name, and I mean it, like that was always a thing that I knew that could possibly happen in the future for us.
I think that's the ultimate happiness, man. Having a good family, and you know, I'm stretching it. It's becoming a little bit too late for me, but I gotta get on the ball and get a family going.
I think that whatever child he would have had with whoever would have been an amazing gift.
He was like a mentor and a father figure to many people, to him it was a natural thing. That's why I think although he always wanted kids, in a way he had so many. And I think that's what how his legacy will continue.
In his dreams,
his name is Maurice Travers.
If you dream about beating me, he needs to wake up and apologize.
He's going to be in the ring tonight working with Baxter. Brother.
That's it! Yeah!
I met Stefanos in 2008. I used to train with him, but more like fitness style. Around 2012, I got an offer for a smoker match, an amateur Thai boxing fight. My experience in Greece was in kickboxing, so it was a very new experience for me. I wasn't trained for something like this, and the only way I would accept is only if Stefanos would train me. And he finally agreed, so we had like 2 weeks of training. In those 2 weeks, it was one of the best experiences of my life. He changed my life. It was very mental training, most of all.
At first I was scared to train with him, but you know, after years go by of it, I was very used to his training methods and his very unique training methods. He does some weird shit.
His philosophy kind of helped me, first of all, not lose the fight, but also keep winning in life, let's say, because he believed that there's no competition, the competition is only with yourself.
He didn't seem to have a strong attachment to money or anything material.
With money, he didn't have a great relationship. He didn't value money. To me, that's another sign of the purity of his soul, of the purity he had as a man. He cared about the moment, about truth. He was very honest. He would always say the truth. He didn't care about being politically or socially correct or anything. He was very, very authentic.
I lent him money many times, but he always paid me back. But it didn't seem to be something that he was chasing.
I remember going over to his place once and we were getting ready to go out, and I just looked over and I noticed a stack of unopened envelopes, and I recognized them. They were checks, they were money. And there had to have been 9 or 10 of these things just on top of this thing. And I was like, oh, hey, you're gonna go to the bank with that or something? And he mentioned, oh, yeah, I'll get back to it later. I was just like, okay. So I don't think money really was a huge priority to him.
My enemy, my ego. Yeah, my biggest enemy is my ego. It takes an incredible amount of passion to be good at anything. Forget about talent and everything. It takes passion. It takes drive. You gotta go to sleep thinking about it. You gotta be dreaming about it. You gotta want it worse than anything in your life. Your whole life depends on achieving a certain goal. That's passion. You gotta be burning with desire.
We're in the making of Market Street Gym. Our goal is to make the best gym in LA.
You know, the last stages of Stefanos' life, in the final years of his life, he'd suffered a stroke and had recovered. His whole attitude changed. His whole outlook on life, everything had completely changed. And he had opened a gym. This was the dream of his life. This gym was one of a kind, never stepped into anything like it, seen anything like it. It was an incredible gym. And he was training people there, and he was really at peace and very, very happy with his life.
I am showing my gym, I should say Tony Djokovic and my gym. I can't wait to get this gym open. I can't wait to come in here and just dance while I'm working on the bag, train people, making money, having shows. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I think it's gonna be a major, major life-changing for me. It's exciting.
Every time I would see Stefanos would talk about this gym and how he's building it and basically inviting me to go train with him. And my initial impressions of the gym was there's no sign outside, there's nothing indicating that there's a gym or any type of business. I get to the address, which I think is the right address, but I can't tell because there's no sign. He opens the door and I'm looking at a place that doesn't look like your typical gym. There's not a lot as far as equipment or anything really. I mean, the thing that stood out most was probably the boxing ring. I went down there, went in for a training session and kind of fell in love with his methods and his training. Reinvented my life back then. That's when I really, really got to know Stefanos as a person.
Jiu-jitsu, to have boxing, to have kickboxing, to have weightlifting, to have all these elements in one gym. You don't have to go all over LA to get all this thing. You'll have it right here with the best trainers the world has to offer. I mean, it's an incredible, really, I mean, it sounds so simple making it here, but somehow I'm privileged enough to know some of the world's best trainers and great people. And we're gonna have them right here, and we will help people to become better.
So it's not just going to be a good-looking space. It's going to be a great gym with some of the best fighters in the world working out here and training here.
And with that, to work.
Unfortunately, the gym had to close, and I think that kind of broke his heart. It kind of broke his spirit about things. It didn't help. I was there from the very first day when he was preparing and opening the gym. I spent 5 years documenting him opening this gym.
Tell me something about this gym.
Oh, the Market Street Gym. This is the making of the Market Street Gym.
It was such a beautiful process watching him put it together. He was so proud. He was so proud of this gym. I think losing that gym really did change him quietly, very quietly. He didn't wear it on his sleeve. He never complained about it. He never talked about it. Just stoic how he was about it. And it was a shame to see that his gym closed.
Stefanos always wanted to be there for someone that needed help. And you know that you have it inside of you. Just beautiful.
I pulled Stefano to the side and said, Stefano, I need to talk to you because everybody afraid to train with you. You will have to go super, super light. And Stefano like, man, these guys want to be a warrior. I'm not going to go easy. I'm going to go double hard because this is a place to make warriors. And that was the Stefano, I love it. I said, actually, you're right. Train with the people who want to be a warrior, train with the people who want to learn from you, train the people who want to have this amazing experience to train with the best. And that was one moment I remember who I learned from Stefano was a great message. That's when it's good to have a friend like him because we learn from each other.
Stefanos' personality, the way he can speak and meet random people. He treated the doorman like he would treat the CEO of the same place.
Stefanos was unique, and he was a guy that, in my mind, is a little immortal. He seemed to have an awareness of life that most people don't have. Most people are living on the surface and watching TV or talking about this issue or that issue, and he never seemed to do those things. He was more about humanity and really what we're all about, just talking about things like breathing, you know, breathing techniques.
He was such a philosopher. Everything, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, I mean, he knew everything about Greek philosophers.
Very simple, grounded, no need to throw a lot of words at it. Simple guy that just was so centered.
And it was very profound when he spoke. His words were very succinct and you would listen to him because of his accent. You would even listen a little bit more with intent. He was a well-versed and well-read man, so when he spoke, you listened.
He lived like a Spartan would. You know, I told you, daily things meant nothing to him. He didn't have to do the daily little things that everybody else does to keep life in order because his existence was Spartan. If he had a bed, he'd just soon sleep on the floor. He didn't have to sleep in the bed. You know, it was just not a thing that he needed.
He lived a very quiet life and very simple, what we say as a Spartan.
Stefanos had an extremely strong will, strong heart. He was extremely passionate. If I had the choice of somebody to partner with in the trenches in warfare, that'd be the guy. Calm, stoic, brave, strong, and he didn't give up on anything easy.
This guy really knows what the world is. He feels life and he feels adventure.
Life is a battlefield. That's what we're here for. And I'm not talking just fighting on the ring. I'm not talking, everybody have their own fight, but we are all here and we're all warriors and we're all fighting and we're all gonna die. Because it takes one hell of a courageous person or animal to die, man.
Και η χειρότερη, η πιο άσχημη, ήταν όταν αρρώστησε με το εγκεφαλικό και το ανέβρισμα. Η καλύτερη ήταν ότι μετά από 2 μέρες, εν τω μεταξύ είχα κάνει όλη τη διαδικασία να βγάλω εισιτήρια να πάμε με τη μητέρα μου. Όταν μετά από 2 μέρες μου μίλησε στο τηλέφωνο. Η καλύτερη στιγμή, ξέρω ότι είναι. Εντάξει.
I was like, he survived this. I definitely thought, you know, another good 40, 50 years, you know what I mean? Like, it was over after he had that first, you know, bout. Transformed into a whole newer, better human being for himself. Not for everybody else, because for everybody else, he already was really great. But for himself, he did things that he had been talking about changing, the smoking the cigarettes, the drinking, the this and that. He changed it by himself. No therapy, no therapy, no nothing, no help from that. He just came home and decided, oh, I'm not doing that again. And that was it.
That's him. It's his breath. After he had his stroke, that's exactly what he would do. He was paralyzed half his body, and he completely got himself back through breathing. Just like that, he would do exactly that and stand on one leg, and he repaired himself.
I mean, I didn't think anything could take him away from here.
Opie called me in the morning at 8 a.m. and she said that she hadn't heard from him and asked if I could come down and check on him. So I changed my clothes and I came down, and when I got here, Johnny and the paramedics were standing outside.
It's the saddest day of my life.
They told me he didn't suffer. He was in his bed, and he still had the blanket on him. That means there was no struggle. He went to sleep. And it just made me think that, you know, he died like he lived. An honorable warrior.
Από την εκκλησία της Αγίας Παρασκευής, η σωρός του Στέφανο Μιλτσακάκη οδηγείται στο κημητήριο του προβατώνα που θα αποτελεί πια την τελευταία του κατοικία. Ο Στέφανος Μιλτσακάκης, μετά από μια λαμπρή καριέρα στο Χόλιγουντ, επέστρεψε στον τόπο όπου γεννήθηκε και εκεί θα παραμείνει για πάντα. Το νήμα της ζωής του κόπηκε ξαφνικά πριν από 15 ημέρες στην Αμερική, όπου ζούσε μόνιμα. Είχε μετακομίσει εκεί με την οικογένειά του από το 1973 και είχε καταφέρει όχι απλά να κερδίσει τη μάχη της επιβίωσης, αλλά να γίνει ένας από τους διασημότερους μαχητές δρόμου όλου του κόσμου. Η καριέρα του σύντομα βγήκε έξω από τα αγωνιστικά τερέν και έφτασε μέχρι το Χόλιγουντ, όπου πρωταγωνίστησε σε ταινίες δράσης μαζί με θρύλους του είδους όπως ο Ζαν Κλοντ Βαν Ντάμ. Ο Στέφανος Μιλτσακάκης ήταν γεννημένος το 1959.
Life is but a walking shadow. A poor player, in this case a strong player, that struts and frets as hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And that is Shakespeare, and that is Macbeth at one of the most pessimistic moments. And I'm not that pessimistic. I just, my God, you begin to ask those fundamental questions that I asked when my father died, when I was 12. And you ask questions about life and the meaning thereof. And there are no answers. There really aren't. All I can say about Stefanos is that he lived a full life. In that sense, I have good memories of him. He embraced life.
He wouldn't like this, that I'm showing this feeling, but bad luck. What are you going to do to me now? Human. A human being.
Not only was he spiritually and mentally, a real interesting character, but his physical skills, I think at one time were probably some of the best skills of any martial arts warrior on the planet. And I've been to Japan, China, Brazil. I fought in all these countries and I've seen a lot, Savat, Paris. And Stefanos had the real pure Titan Greek mentality that really made him probably one of the baddest guys in history in the martial arts community on that level that people understand the value of who he really was and not the belts or anything else like that, but as true MMA, true warrior, true fighter, true gladiator.
Stefanos was a true warrior. He had a heart of gold and the strength of 10 men.
Πάντα έλεγε σε παντού, σε όλους, ότι όταν χόρευα για αυτόν και δεν χόρευα για κανέναν, κάπως είχε αγάπη για αυτό το θέμα. Τελευταία φορά, σήμερα. Αυτό είναι για σένα.
Wild bull Tasmanian devil with a huge, huge heart.
He was proud of where he came from and where he was of his journey.
Να τον είχα μπροστά μου ήθελα. Άλλο τίποτα δεν θα έδωνα στον κόσμο.
Making something of myself, something unique, something different that I can feel I succeed in this life. I can feel I left something behind, a name, something.
I'll keep you up how the process is going, all right? So I'll see you soon.